Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Mar27 in the 5-minute pool on ICC. I open with the English against Mar27. Usually they play d5, and we could transpose into a Catalan if we wanted, but I'm going to keep it in independent territory, so I'm not going to play d4 for a while. We'll just play this line with b3. I think black is largely okay in this variation. It's just something different to play. Yeah, c5 is the main move. Now usually e3 is played. And they tend to capture on c4 sooner or later. Just go knight c3. He's playing a more aggressive version of this. Okay, we'll play d3. Just guard our c4 pawn. I feel like queen e2 is fine. Maybe with rook fd1 in store. One plan for white in this setup is to play knight e1 and then go f4. Not sure with his bishop on a6 though, like what effect that has on the position. Because if knight e1, he can go d4. Is that bad for me? Remains to be seen. Well, let's do it. Because I don't see too many other constructive plans. So if d4, I'll play knight e4. Yeah, let's do that. The only trouble is he might keep this pawn on d4 in an effort to restrict me for the rest of the game. I wonder if he'll just take and then put the bishop on f6. Will I have a moment? I'm just checking out who Mar is. Bishop b7, yeah, makes sense. Knight c2, maybe. Or maybe I take and then play e4. Let's do that.
Check.
I'm going to try to close up the position because I kind of fear that they're going to take on e3 as strategic time and open the position when I'm not ready for it. So now my plan is to go f4 and put the knight back on f3. I think he might stop that by playing e5 himself. He does. Let's gain some space over here. Do we want to play h4 though? I could go f4 all the same. I was thinking h4 and king h2, trying to go bishop h3, but I don't know if I like that plan so much, now that I look at it. Let's play for f4. I'm just curious what will happen after this. So knight f3, he can trade and then put the queen on g4 perhaps. You want to play kind of a sneaky move. I'm going to go here and try to threaten bishop h3. He's probably going to play rook a d8 to avoid it. Let's start bringing our pieces over to the king side. I have bishop h3 when I want it. He could play bishop c8 in an effort to stop it, but... Okay, now let's bring the knight in. And if he takes, I'll probably take with the pawn. If I take with a piece, he can stick one of his pieces on e5 and blockade. Let's offer a trade of the light square bishops. And again, if he takes, I'm taking with a pawn, barring any tactics. I don't think there's a way he can hurt me. I'm actually threatening e5 now. So he responds to that. Let's go bishop d2. So now I'm going to try to work my pieces over to the king side, basically. Probably rook f1, rook a e1 is what I'm thinking. Okay, let's do that. Now that the queens are traded, maybe a3. Trying to go b4. Do I want to make that weakness, though? Yeah, let's do it. He's got me on the clock very slightly. I'm trying to decide if it's worth it for me to close up the queen side. Like now I have the option of a4 pretty much all the time. Do we do that and try to focus elsewhere? Yeah, let's do it. I don't know. I'm just not sure, but it seems like he might have a better chance of opening the queen side than I do. So we'll play it this way. Okay, we'll go here. Trying to bring this other rook over. Just being very conscious of the time. 2 minutes in a closed position. We might have a lot of moves in this game. He's bringing his knight to e6. Let's bring our king up. Let's bring this over. So if knight e6, maybe f5. e5 will be met by f5 from him. Okay, I'm going to do this. This weakens the e5 square, but I feel it might be necessary. So now my threat is to take, and then f6 is weak. Ooh, he can get his knight into b4 now. That's one drawback of trading the dark square bishops. Whereas I don't really have access to b5 so easily. Okay, well, let's take.
Check.
Bring our king back. I'm not sure about keeping the king on the f-file. So now plan is we're both going to try to maneuver our knight somewhere, I'm pretty certain. Like, we want to get them into good squares. He might go into e5, yeah. I'm just going to swap. This is kind of boring what we're doing, but let's just go here. Trying to double up. He's preventing rook g1. Wonder if he's going to go rook g2. It doesn't really do much, though. Yeah, I'll probably just pester him with a trade. Being down on the clock. My king is restricted, which is what hurts a little bit right now. Okay, rook d5. d5 doesn't do as much as I'd like. Just pester with a trade. Could also have to rook g4, play e5. Maybe that's what I should do. Huh. Well, now I can maybe go rook d5 and seek counterplay that way. Because if rook f4, I have king g2. Stopping any rook f2 business. Ooh, he might have made a mistake. If I can prevent him getting at d3 and b3, I have decent winning chances now. Okay, let's do this. Pinning his f-pawn.
Check.
If he brings his king up, I can just check, and I win his rook. Yeah, so he's got to play like rook h5 or something now. Let's take this guy.
Check. Check.
Let's drag this out for a moment. He's trying to come in to attack this guy.
Check.
So rook here. Here, okay, I'm going to go for this. He has check here.
Check.
This is going to get interesting. Okay, let's take that. Not sure who's better. We're both going to have some advantages. My A and C pawns are pretty far flung and hard for him to stop. But then again, how do I get these pawns
Time
going?
warning.
Let's go h4. Neither of us has much time. Yeah, I'm going rook d5. Okay, now I can use my king to stop this. What's he going to do about that? Let's go rook here. Can go take that, actually. Let's go here. Get all our pawns up to the 5th rank. Yeah, I think I got this. He resigned. So we were able to seize our chance and play rook d5 at the right moment, and that paid off. So I think he maybe tried a little bit too hard with like doubling the rooks on the G file and not bringing his king to the center, as he probably should. Let's go back and have a look. So as I said, white can at any moment take the game into a Catalan by playing d4. I did not do that. I just played b3. It's been a little while since I played this system from the white side. Usually they put the bishop on b7, but there is something to be said for bishop a6. So I played d3, queen d7, queen e2. It's just a position. Black should be doing absolutely fine. So this knight e1 move, the idea is to go f4, g4, g5. They call it the kingside crawl plan. You're slowly pushing your pawns up the board, trying to restrict black's play. He played d4. I went knight e4. I had a feeling the engine wouldn't like this, what I did. And I closed it up. He does have a space advantage. I went for f4. This is kind of a funny move, just threatening bishop h3. So outwardly, my position appears very passive, and I'm making like backward moves. But because the position is so closed, I can get away with that. There's no way he can punish me for making backward moves in a closed position like this. And I was being wary of when he could play e takes f4 and any tactics associated with that. I think we both played pretty reasonably in this stage of the game. You know, taking with the pawn is debatable. Bishop takes is about equal, as you can see, but it's a lot less interesting. Like, he gets access to the e5 square, and there could be mass exchanges there at any moment. So pawn takes is more ambitious, trying to control e5 with a pawn, and I have a little pawn roller going. So he played this just so if ever I play e5, he can just drop his queen or his bishop back to g7. So now, big question is how to proceed in this position. I flirted with the idea of playing on the queen side, but I quickly threw that in the trash and actually closed the queen side up. I'm not happy about having to play a4, though, because I feel like that was a concession. It gave his knight access to b4 at any moment. The engine's not going to be too revealing in a position like this. This is one type of position where the computer isn't going to show you a real clear plan. I'm just looking at the line the engine gives. It doesn't really make any sense. It says I should go king f2 and then play h4 and then play a3 and then like put my rook on h1 or something, but not advance h5. Yeah, it's a hard position for a computer to understand because there's no tactics. Still, though, I don't think I should have done this. The problem with my center pawns, though, even though they look nice and they control a lot of territory, they're hard to advance because whichever one I advance, I'll inevitably weaken some squares left behind. So you can see when I played f5 in the game, e5 became a weak square, and he was able to swap knights on that square. So let's fast forward a little bit. Again, I think we both played pretty well. The computer is not a fan of f5. It says I should play h4. Yeah, h4 here might be a better idea. Trying to go h5 and offload this weak pawn. Maybe in conjunction with rook h1, like maybe rook h1 first and then h5. That looks like a better plan. I agree with the engine there. So I played f5, but as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, actually b4 is weak now. I was wondering if he could, maybe after something like here to defend f6, play knight c6 and just stick the knight on b4, because that'll tie up one of my pieces for sure. I guess if he does that, maybe I can do like a preemptive knight c6. Yeah, maybe a preemptive king maneuver over to protect this pawn. And my rook holds f5, so I'm not worried about this. I guess I'm still kind of worse, but this is maybe okay. Yeah, I think his knight has a lot more potential now than mine. There's not a clearly good square for my knight, because I can't get here or here. That would be a dream scenario, but how do I do that? I'd have to go through squares that are all covered by black's pawns right now.
Check.
And I think he overpressed in this phase. I really do. I didn't mind trading knights. I thought this was roughly level. Yeah, and probably around here he should play king f7 and just stick the king on e6. Because one advantage he does have is that his king is more centralized than mine, and mine is still stuck in the corner. I have to figure out a way to rectify that problem. Instead, though, he played king g7. I sought a trade, and I kept bothering him with exchanges. I could go rook d5 here, but I think with both rooks on the board, it's less clear, because he has moves like rook g2. Whereas if I trade a pair of rooks, he can't do that, and his remaining rook had a hard time infiltrating on its own. I was okay with a draw here. I probably would have taken a draw. So he did this, and all of a sudden I have rook d5, and I'm getting to the belly of his pawn structure. Still might be drawish, but the onus is now on him to prove the draw. Okay, here h3 was very strong. That's interesting, because that restricts his rook pretty severely. There's no squares for his rook to go to except for h4, which doesn't do anything. Not a move that comes easily to mind, in my opinion, but yeah, I can see the advantage of playing that move.
Check.
As played without h3, he got to check me around a little bit.
Check.
Yeah, even here, h4, that would have been a nice move. Yep, spending one tempo to restrict his rook saved me a headache of trying to figure out where to put my king. So I took, he went check. I don't think he ever had a three-fold repetition, but it was close. Wait a second. Okay, so this position is 1.
Check. Check.
This is 2.
Check.
Yeah, he never had a repetition. Okay, so I never allowed a threefold. So rook h5, rook b5.
Check.
He gave this check. That's accurate, because if he takes here first, he actually loses a little bit of time. So checking forces my king to make a decision. Although I don't know, maybe king f4 isn't that bad of a move, and also he doesn't win my h2 pawn this way. This might be a draw. I actually think he should have kept the pawn on d4. I don't think he should have pushed it. h5. Also, that move was perhaps unnecessarily weakening, because when he moved his king, that pawn was hanging. So how would black draw this? Let's say he plays, we'll just follow the engine suggestion. Rook here. I'm guessing I would have probably played a5 against that. Rook takes. Let's say here. Rook f2 check. Force my king somewhere. Rook a2. Something like this. Yeah, it's a position where in a blitz game, any result is possible. It seems like I should be doing well with the a and the c pawns, but they're not connected, and my rook can get stuck defending both of them, and his rook is in an optimal position behind the pawn to defend. So who knows if I can actually win this still, but he really made it tough on himself for two reasons. One, he pushed h5 and just presented me with another target on the h-file, on the 5th rank rather. And also he played d3. I think that move was pretty bad too, because my king right now is trapped. I can't do anything as long as his rook sits here. Like if he had just played king e6, it would have been tougher. Although I guess I do win that pawn. Let's say king g6 instead, because I can't advance either of these pawns without them being lost. Like a6 loses a pawn, and if c5 he takes here, and this might still be good, but it's much more up in the air than in the game. So here, now I feel white should win. Yeah, like if he had played king g6 protecting this pawn, let's go king d2. It's very nearly in zugzwang. Let's just say he does this. Rook b5. Rook b5, and then go with the c pawn, since my a pawn is defended. Yeah, he's going to have to move his rook, and I'll take this pawn sometime soon and win. So here I just blocked with the pawn with my king, and didn't notice that h5 was hanging for a couple moves, but it didn't matter. Yeah, and he resigned. Just too many passed pawns now. Okay, so pretty entertaining game all around. I mean, a lot of stages in that one. Sedate opening and then a closed position in the middle game that went into a rook end game where I unexpectedly had chances. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another Blitz game. Talk to you guys later. Bye.